Hi, I'm Greg Hunter. This is the weekly news wrap up for Friday the 13th. That's April 13th, 2018, the WNW 330. I had the hardest time putting this together, folks. I mean, what's going on in Syria is all over the charts. From what Putin is saying, one minute he's saying that, they'll respond with force, basically, and the next minute he's saying maybe cooler heads can prevail. Same thing with Donald Trump. I will start here, though. This is the latest I have. Need for action. This is what they're saying. Theresa May and Donald Trump plan joint action. They haven't said what that is against Assad in a phone call after PM gets green light for missile strike in Syria. Even Pat Buchanan thinks this is a false flag, that the evidence of it is flimsy. Many people think that nobody's made the case and actually proven this. I called in some favors from my sources. Supposedly Donald Trump has people on the ground trying to figure out what's going on. The president of France, Macron, says he has proof. I don't know how he got that. It's just really kind of unbelievable. But before the headline about them going on with the missile strike, Don backs down. This is the Sun also, Sun UK. It says Donald Trump backpedals on Syria, saying he never said when an attack would take place. The U.S. president backed away from his claim that Assad's major ally, Russia, should get ready for American smart missiles. Trump's been all over the place. I mean, one minute he talks about the animal Assad. The next minute he says, the relations between the U.S. and Russia is all because of all the holdovers, basically, with the Obama administration and the witch hunt of the Russian investigation, which is a major olive branch. Another thing he says is, it may happen soon. It may happen not so soon. There's another tweet he's been out, but it's all over the place. And I think everybody is it's sinking in. Hey, wow, is this really worth World War III? Did it really happen? Did it really, really happen? I mean, Albright's worried on the page. He's a deep stater, saying that he's warning for Trump to really think that the Syria response through. Maybe they're trying to figure out a way to save face. The last time Trump shot off a bunch of missiles, he shot off like 59 or 60 of them. And he didn't hit any. He didn't hit much. I mean, he hit things, sure he did, but he didn't kill very many people. He certainly didn't kill any Russian soldiers. And the U.S. has had a lot of collateral damage and killed some Russians, advisors, soldiers, whatever, along with Syrian and also was. And then here's another title. More worry, consternation. The U.S. strike may not halt Assad advance. But if you just look back in a few years and you think, where could whoever did this chemical attack, and I'm not sure they even did. I got to tell you, it's the most bizarre timing. I talked about this with Bill Holter. I mean, one week you have President Trump saying he wants to, remove troops from Syria. The very next week we have a chemical attack. And I just dug this headline up because this was widely reported not that long ago, a couple of years ago, how the Islamic State seized a chemical weapons stockpile. This is foreignpolicy.com, it's a legit organization. When jihadists captured a Syrian military base, they found a cache of some of the world's most dangerous weapons buried in bunkers. Now, Russia was supposed to make Syria get rid of these weapons. That didn't happen. There's a lot of doubt on all sides as to what happened. It doesn't make sense for Assad, for President Trump to say he's leaving and then, let's have a chemical weapons attack. Then again, maybe they did it and they would pin say it's a false flag by ISIS or the U.S. I don't know. It seems pretty suspect to me, though. Bizarre timing. A lot of people think it's bizarre timing. A lot of people are worried about World War III, including, I'm sure, Theresa May and Vladimir Putin and the U.S. And Donald Trump. And that's not Trump's real plan right now to go to war, I don't think. He was on his way to Peru, canceled that trip. There were some rumors that, the deep state may try to knock him off in Peru. I can't prove that. I talked to my friend Dave Janda about that. He thought the same thing. He said, I think Donald Trump, and Janda's a pretty connected guy. He didn't say this is from his sources. I just kind of bounced some stuff off him. And Janda, Operation Freedom, Dave Janda, says that, I think Donald Trump stayed at home to put the kibosh on a quick military response. And I hope they can think long and hard about what's going down here. If you look at the map of Syria, this is something I got off Zero Hedge, and it just wanted to show you what kind of a cluster bomb Syria is. This is Syria, right? Okay, these are the Kurds and Americans, and we have multiple bases up here. Here's the U.S. also has bases, has a base, and has troops here. This is all Assad and the Iranians, and that's what a lot of this is about. A lot of the Arabs, a lot of the Al Qaeda, ISIS, whoever else the U.S. has been overtly and covertly backing with arms. They're worried about Iran taking over this area. The other problem is that there's the Assyrians and the Russians have bases all over the place. Up here you have Turkey. Turkey's got lookouts and scouts and people down in this area of Syria. I mean, the whole thing is a basically cluster bomb of U.S., French, Iranian, Russian, Turkish, UK. Some UK people were basically captured today. Heck, who knows? Maybe the Iranians. I mean, the Israelis are in. The Israelis are super worried about Iran attacking them from these areas over here in Syria. And they got all these bases that Iran is building. What a mess. I mean, if there's going to be plenty of time for Donald Trump, if that's the case, if it's a legitimate attack and whatever, there's going to be plenty of opportunity and time to start World War III. And so, I don't want to be that dramatic, but, we're talking about nuclear-armed country, Russia. And Putin is trying to put out overtures saying that, maybe cooler heads can prevail. I mean, he's trying to, Donald Trump is saying, well, all the Russian relations is because of this witch hunt and the Obama administration holdovers about this Russia investigation, which now they're going after Donald Trump's personal lawyer, Michael Cohen, which I find bizarre. But before I even get into that, I'm not finding, especially in the alt space, even Pat Buchanan, dyed-in-the-wool Republican, old school, old media, legacy media commenter. He's not sure that the Syrians committed the chemical attack. There's other people say that was staged by white hats. I mean, this is you're gonna start a major military conflict, and you're not dead solid certain that what happened really happened. And again, I think this is the deep state wanting to stop Donald Trump and all these tens of thousands of indictments, and you've seen all these people out of the blue step down. I mean, there are more people that are announced that they're stepping down or not running for re-election in the Congress more than I can ever remember in all the way back to the 70s. It's unbelievable. I mean, Senators Corker. You have people like Jeff Flake out in Arizona. You have the latest, Paul Ryan. He's 48 years old. He's Speaker of the House. He gets a jet to fly back and forth out of, I believe he's from Wisconsin, back and forth out of his district. They're only there 150 days a year, but yet he's going to quit to spend time with the family. Now they're wanting to push him out, the GOP or the rest of the GOP, or at least the freedom wing of it, is wanting to push him out. There's a lot of people saying, just get out now. I mean, Paul Ryan almost got primaried because he was hanging on to this TPP. And now Trump is wanting to re-look into the TPP, but I'm sure it's not going to be the deal that the New World Order globalists like Paul Ryan wanted to do. Every time Paul Ryan had a chance to stick it to Donald Trump, he sure did. Every time he had a chance to stick it to American workers, he sure did. And I have heard that I cannot validate this rumor. Here's a rumor, just a rumor. And I want to start with a little backstory. You saw what happened in Alabama. Roy Moore, the candidate, Karl Rove and Mitch McConnell and their super PAC spent $33 million trying to knock him out of the box in a primary. Couldn't do it. They didn't spend diddly squat after he actually won the primary. And Mitch McConnell would rather see, and that's what he got, rather see a Democrat in the seat in Alabama, a state that goes 60% red and 40% blue. He'd rather see a Democrat in the seat. Now let's fast forward to the rumor. I've heard that the Republican leadership was willing to throw the election in 2018, the midterm elections, to give the House of Representatives to the Democrats, so they could impeach Donald Trump. And now we have a couple of the front runners, Steve Scalise, Kevin, I think McCarthy, who was going to be possibly Speaker of the House last time. I'm not wild about McCarthy, but I like him better than Paul Ryan. But I think Paul Ryan Lee was the best thing that happened to Donald Trump and the people who are for freedom and the Constitution and the rule of law. Paul Ryan stepping down, I think, is a very good thing. Of course, USA Today paints it. Other publications paint it as, what's the GOP going to do? I think they're going to do much better. And look at this. This is the latest omnibus budget with Ryan. He basically runs the show in the House. And all they got was $1 million, 2 or 3 for the wall that 70% of Americans want. I think one poll said 75% of Americans want immigration laws enforced. And he could only muster 1.3 billion for a wall. It's outrageous. So good riddance, and I hope he steps down ASAP and is replaced by somebody who will support the president and support we the people. Paul Ryan didn't support we the people. He supported the Trans-Pacific Partnership. He's supporting exporting jobs overseas. He supports bringing in massive amounts of legal and illegal immigrants while he has a wall, no kidding, around his house. I think this is the biggest story of the week. Also, Trump was quoted as saying, hey, it doesn't look like it, but I'm draining the swamp. And what's up with Paul Ryan? 48 years old. He's at the pinnacle of his career in politics. He's third in line if Trump and Pence, if they both can't finish their terms. He's third in line to be the president, Speaker of the House. He gets a private jet to fly back and forth out of his district. I told you that. They're only in Washington 150 days a year, maybe. Let's say he's Speaker of the House. He might be there a little longer, has to travel a little more. And he's going to quit his job at the pinnacle of his career at 48 years old, and he's a vice presidential candidate too, a possible presidential candidate sometime in the future, and he's going to quit his job to spend time with the family. Something's wrong. Oh, and did I tell you Donald Trump it doesn't look like it, but he's quoted as saying he's draining the swamp. Doesn't look like it, but I'm draining the swamp. And then you have all these indictments, which right now an attack on Syria wouldn't help Trump, but it sure would help the people who may go to jail for fraud and treason and racketeering and extortion and, all the things that happened in the Uranium One deal and elsewhere. All the fraud involved. Peter Schweitzer has a new book out, and one of the things he talked about, of course, you don't hear this, not even on Fox. Mitch McConnell made most of his family wealth because of his ties to China. I mean, that's who we have running the Senate. Somebody who's a multimillionaire because of the deals he's cut with China. I'll tell you, it's just unbelievable, and I think that this is just another attack. Just like with going after Michael Cohen, Trump's attorney, who I don't think is going to crack, and I don't think they're going to get anything out of it. I think they're going to leak all kinds of garbage to try to. They can't beat him on the collusion. They don't have it. And they don't have an obstruction of justice case either. They're just trying to embarrass him and maybe get him to make a mistake to fire Rosenstein, or they're already talking. Oh, if he fires Rosenstein, we're going to impeach him. These are the Democrats in the House of Representatives. He's got a bunch of rhino backstabbing Republicans too, in the House and the Senate, because they're part of the swamp. They're sucking up the mud and the cash and the money and they've committed a lot of crime, and boy, they could go to jail, and not just for that, the human trafficking, the pedophilia, the sex with children. The Dennis Hastert was a Republican, and he went to jail over paying off his victims. His statute of limitations ran out for his pedophilia, but he was committing fraud and paying off his victims in the millions of dollars. Denny Hastert, a former Speaker of the House. Don't think that this Luciferian, evil, child sacrifice, child pedophilia, sex isn't going on, along with the corruption and fraud and everything else in Washington. And they don't care if they have to take the country to war. I'm hoping Trump put this off long enough and didn't take the bait. And that's why he's waffling on whatever. I'd rather have him waffle and do a thorough investigation, and maybe he finds out, maybe it wasn't what everybody said it was. Maybe he got bad intel. He's sending us, supposedly, according to my sources, and I called a few people, that he sent his own people, 2 different crews over there to see what's going on. Go check the hospitals. What were they treated for? I don't know. We got such crazy things because a lot of people in this swamp committed a lot of crime, a lot of fraud, a lot of bribery, a lot of treason. And they're scared, and they don't want to go to jail for the rest of their lives. They don't want to be exposed for, human trafficking and pedophilia and crimes with children. They don't want that. They want things to keep going the way they are. Time Magazine, another failing mainstream media publication, they have this with Donald Trump to make fun of the president, Stormy. Again, this is all they got. They're going to try to embarrass the president with something that may or may not have happened. And, they're going to try to devalue him. They can't get him on any real charges, not like Hillary Clinton, as I've been telling you about all this time, for her global charity fraud, her acts of treason with her completely unprotected server, her, bleach bidding and destroying 33,000 emails under subpoena. You have obstruction of justice, you have fraud, you have bribery. Did I say treason? How about global charity fraud? And nobody on either side of the aisle will mention a word about it. They ripped off Haiti to the tunes of billions of dollars. They collected money for their earthquake, and they did get the money, and nobody said a peep in Washington. How can you have that big of a fraud and nobody say anything? Mainstream media, shame on you. You are fake news, and you're dying. You are fake news, and you are dying. The Zuckerberg thing, a lot of puffballs, a lot of, before he testified, there was a story out saying he donated to 85% of the people who would be questioning him. I think Ted Cruz was especially good. Some other people brought up Diamond and Silk. Facebook said they were dangers to the community. They were dangerous to the community. Really? A couple of black women who think for themselves that are Republicans? Whoo, I bet you they are a big danger. Yeah. But they're a huge danger to the mono-thinking, Luciferian, Marxist communists that have taken over the Democratic Party. Marsha Blackburn, I think he's running for Senate in Tennessee. She's also a congresswoman. This is Mark Zuckerberg admitted Facebook subjective in how they manipulate these algorithms to censor conservatives. This is Breitbart. This is a big headline, I thought, though. Marsha Warburton, the Republican from Tennessee. Zuckerberg's appearance before the House committee on Wednesday will be the first of many. And so he says, well, my information was taken too. By who? Did you sell the information too? Who got all this information? Let's see, China has been trying to steal our intellectual property and trying to undermine America. And you think maybe a big country like China may have gotten a hold of all the Facebook information because they're so reckless and anti-American? Zuckerberg reportedly is an atheist. I think he hates America too. Open borders, the whole deal, right? Just crash the country. He'll still be rich. I think he's got walls around his house too. He bought 5 lots in a Tony neighborhood out in California. But him being back, that was a big headline. They're not finished with him. Did all the Facebook information that would undermine America and our society, did that get all, were foreign actors, are they in possession of all that information? Thank you to Facebook. Thank you for selling out America. Thank you for trying to progress your communism and cram it down our throats, Mr. Zuckerberg, who was sitting on a booster seat in Congress. He's sitting on Mark Zuckerberg, he had a little booster seat. A lot of conflicting reports about the economy. I got a friend of mine that does trucking down the street from me, and he says, wow, trucking. Yeah, I tell you one thing. Donald Trump's responsible for one thing. Trucking is tight. I mean, he actually books loads in and out of cities and across the country, and he's actually a freelance booker for trucking cargo. He says, man, it's tight. Truck drivers are in tight supply. Now truck drivers' pay are going way up. They screwed these guys for so long and pinched them so long that many people stopped driving. Now they have to pay people $100,000 a year to drive a truck, in some cases. Not the brand newbies, but the experienced people. And then he says, trucking's tight. Okay, your stock market all-time highs are near all-time highs. Unemployment is near all-time lows, but the real unemployment rate, according to John Williams at shadowstats.com, it's about north of 20%. Been that way ever since Obama's been in office. But listen, I'm not complaining. I mean, if Hillary would have taken over, can you imagine what would have happened to the country? We would be in a full-blown depression right now without all the regulation cutting, without all the optimism, without all the tax cuts, without all the bonuses and pay raises and the opening up of markets. And I don't think there's going to be a trade war either. Jared Salente doesn't think there's going to be a trade war with China or the European Union. They're just going to have to open their markets up, and we're going to have to level the playing field because we've been screwed for a long time. But there's a lot of debt out there. A lot of debt out there. Here's a shadowstats.com statistic, and this just came out. For all employees, first quarter 2018, real average weekly earnings contracted 0.4%. Now there's inflation in there too, along with slowing real growth of consumer credit. Gregory Mannarino says, absent of a big strike in Syria, he thinks the markets will charge higher. He thinks, at least for a while. Donald Trump does not want a falling market, especially not at least until after the midterms. Can they keep that propped up? Maybe. And again, I don't think a war is going to help the economy. I think it's going to crash it, if that is indeed the case. But I think Donald Trump's major campaign promise, and I think he needs to do this in order to survive, in order to thrive, he's going to have to go after the people that have committed all this fraud and crimes and go up pretty high, as Dave Janda, who came on and said, they're going to go up really high and cut off their money. I mean, basically, they're using their wealth to undermine America and through sedition, treason, but they're undermining America. They're wanting the country to fail, and that's bad for we the people. And I think that's going to be his major push. I think. I'm surprised that he hasn't pushed the indictments, which supposedly there's nearly 25,000 sealed indictments, and I'm wondering if Paul Ryan wasn't one of them. I don't know if he was. It just seems bizarre to me. I'm spending time with the family. I'm 48. I'm at the pinnacle of my career. I have a private U.S. taxpayer paid for jet, a big one, like a 757 or something, to fly in and out of my district, and I don't want that anymore. I'm going to spend time with my family. Another piece of information here is the bankruptcy, Chapter 11 bankruptcies. That's reorganization, not liquidation. 7 is liquidation. 11 is reorganization. In other words, we're going to cut our debt. A spike 63% from a year earlier. This is WolfStreet.com. This is a sign that the economy has arrived at the end of the credit cycle. The Fed is trying to push interest rates up and tighten financial conditions. Weak companies are starting to have a harder time refinancing their debts. Now, according to this article, there was a big spike in bankruptcy filings right at the end of the year because they could write off their losses at 35%. And then the new law kicked in, and they were writing off their loss at 21%. But even the article said, that's only some of the spike in bankruptcies. There's just more reorganizations, more bankruptcies, and it's because the credit cycle is slowing. A lot of people look at the 10-year Treasury. They set 30-year mortgages off the 10-year Treasury. But Michael Pinto came on here and was talking about the explosive growth in LIBOR, the London Interbank Offered Rate. It went from 0.3% in late 2015, according to Pinto, to 2.3%, and there are $370 trillion of loans set off LIBOR. That's a huge explosive growth in interest rates and the cost of borrowing, the cost of money. So the economy is, and I got to tell you, I think we would be in a full blown depression if Trump wouldn't have been elected. And he is opening up ANWR and opening up the drilling, and we're going to end up being an oil huge, the biggest oil exporter. I think what they're saying is by 2023, we're already an oil exporter. They're already drilling on dry land. You go out and build a rig out in the middle of the Gulf or out, in the North Sea or out wherever you'd say, hey, I want to build one. And, at the earliest, you might be able to get it out there and pumping oil in 5 years. You start drilling on land and you might be able to pump oil in 5 months. And I think that's what Donald Trump is trying to ramp up revenues, ramp up exports, ramp up things that we can sell and we can pay our debts off and keep ourselves going. That's exactly what I think he's doing, and he's been pretty successful so far, even despite the fact that people like Eddie Munster, Paul Ryan, and Mitch McConnell, who are covertly working against him. And so, the economy is doing better, a lot better than it would have been doing if we had Hillary Clinton. And so that's the name of that thing. And I do also think that what they're going to be doing in the future, along with these indictments, is they're going to be cracking down on election fraud and voter fraud. They're going to crack down on it. I mean, they're already talking about making California 3 states. Of course, who's going to gerrymander that one? So it's 3 Democrat states instead of having 2 Democrat senators? We'll have 6 Democrat senators from the 3 states of California. I don't know about that. I know there's a lot of disgruntled people there that they're using voter fraud and with the illegal aliens and actual out-and-out voter fraud to keep control of California. I think there's... In the 2016-11, they have about 38 million people population. I believe 18 million people voted for Donald Trump. So, that's in a state the size of California, they got about 2 million pad there. You could knock out a bunch of voter fraud from illegal aliens and dead people voting and ballot box stuffing and everything else. And, you might have a Republican governor in the state of California. I mean, who knows? I want to close with this, Bank of America, and shame on you, Bank of America, you weasels. Bank of America will stop lending money to makers of assault rifles. This is largely, according to one report, just a WWE, a PR stunt. It's a dangerous PR stunt because you remember the poll I told you about that was in the Washington Post? They couched it as 1 in 5 want to get rid of the Second Amendment. And, when the real story was, wow, 4 in 5 say, don't get rid of it. They can't even get just barely 39% of Democrats to want to get rid of the Second Amendment. And that's the highest group right there. Black people, 70%, only 30% want to get rid of it. Republicans, 8%. I'm surprised it's that high. Asians, they're also very low, in the 20s. Hispanics, they're more Hispanics don't want to get rid of it than even black people. That's a loser. But so here's what Bank of America and the banking system want to do: no voting, no public discussion. We're just going to cut off your money. The taxpayers bailed them out in the last meltdown. These guys should have been taken to receivership. Many people said that. They should have been taken to receivership. They should have been bankrupted, not bailed out by taxpayers. This is how they repay us. They're going to attack our rights. No voting, no public discussion. We're just going to cut your money off. And the other thing is, will they punish political views by cutting off credit? I mean, if you're a Christian, they're going to cut your credit off. You're not going to get a car loan, not going to get a house loan. If you voted, for Donald Trump, you're going to not get a car loan. If you didn't like the soda tax that they have, are they going to take away your ability to even have a credit card? I mean, they're going to punish you if you step out of line. How dare they? These Nazis at Bank of America. If you're doing business with him, maybe you shouldn't. This is a very dangerous stunt they pulled. They're attacking our democracy. So we're going to have some corporation that creates credit indefinitely because of the Federal Reserve. When they make a loan, they just create credit. And then they're going to cut it off to us after we bailed them out. What a bunch of weasels at Bank of America. How dare you guys do that? Bank of Un-America. Bank of communism. Bank of you better stay in line. Yeah, Bank of Un-America. Right. That's the way I see it. I'm Greg Hunter. Thank you for supporting USAWatchdog.com. Thank you for your comments. Got smart people there, although sometimes I disagree with some of you. But other than that, I appreciate you making comments. I mean, I appreciate all the comments, even if I disagree. I also want to thank you for your donations. That helps us out. Remember, fear not. And when I say this, I really mean it. That's just a slogan. Don't let these weasels create fear and paralyze you and shut you up and let their PC culture, I better not say anything because, no, don't do that. That's what they want. They want you to be fearful. They want you to be paralyzed. They want you to stay in line. How dare you speak your mind? Don't do that. Fear not. Prepare yourself mentally, physically, above all spiritually, because God the Father and His Son, Jesus Christ, are firmly in control. Thanks for supporting USAW.